Quite a few people said that they enjoyed the video I made the other day about boxing gloves because I'm looking to buy yet another pair of boxing gloves for the gym to spar and training and what have you. And I'm a bit of a glove connoisseur. I like getting different gloves and I'm a bit of an addict for it. But in this video, I want to kind of address some of the questions that people have about boxing gloves in general, particularly professional fight gloves. Right now, I'm not a professional boxer. I've never had any professional fights. I only ever fought as an amateur. And as an amateur, you have to wear amateur AIBA approved boxing gloves. And when I was fighting, the gloves back then were pretty similar to the gloves now, the ones that you're allowed to wear. Actually, the ones now are worse than the ones we were allowed to wear back in the days fighting amateur, although some of these new style gloves were kicking around as well. These top 10 gloves, these are a typical amateur style glove. You see the way the thumb is shaped, the rounded front, and then you've got these Adidas gloves. These are probably the two most common ones today when it comes to amateur boxing, at least in the UK, the AIBA approved gloves. Both these gloves are horrible. They're horrible. They feel awkward when you put them on. Because they're rounded at the top like this, you don't really feel like you're making proper contact with the target. The way the thumb is shaped, you don't really feel like you can make a good tight fist. These gloves, these amateur gloves, the Adidas ones are not so bad as the top 10 ones. And I've tried both of these types of gloves on. The Adidas and the top 10. The Adidas ones are not so bad because they're not quite as rounded at the top as you can see. But they're still both horrible gloves. Right? But amateur gloves are designed to protect the opponent, not just protect the hand. And I'm talking about fight gloves here, right? Amateur fight gloves are designed to protect the opponent, not just protect the hand. Whereas professional fight gloves are only designed to protect your hand. They are not designed to protect your opponent. In fact, many of them are designed to help you inflict damage on your opponent. And that's one of the main differences between the amateur gloves and the professional fight gloves. Obviously, the amateur gloves are Velcro. The professional fight gloves are all lace gloves. So yeah, these are the kind of gloves I was used to wearing for fights. Horrible, horrible gloves to wear. Terrible. But as far as the professional fight gloves, I've trained in many professional fight gloves, and because I'm a glove connoisseur, I buy fight gloves from time to time. Now, some people talk about there being punchers gloves. I get this question a lot. Which gloves are best for punchers? Because there's this idea that there are particular types of gloves which all punchers like to wear. And this is actually not the case. Whether you're a puncher, a boxer, whatever you are, it all comes down to personal preference, because it comes down to how comfortable the glove feels on your hand. It comes down to how much protection you want for your hand and how much damage you want to inflict on your opponent. And it's a trade-off because some punchers have got relatively brittle hands. So they want to inflict damage, but they don't want to damage their own hands in the process. So they might not wear a horsehair glove where the padding is very soft and thin. You know, they might wear something which has got more dense foam padding that's more protective of their hand. Yeah, this idea that every big puncher is going to go for a horsehair glove is just simply not true. Anyway, I'm going to go through some of the popular fight gloves which are around today. Now, first of all, you got the Cleto Reyes fight gloves. These have been popular for decades. Since at least, the 70s, people were wearing Cleto Reyes, maybe before that. But really, in the 80s and 90s, they were the glove of choice, the Cleto Reyes. Well, actually, in the 80s, it was more Everlast, but in the 90s, I would say Cleto Reyes was more the glove of choice because people started moving away from Everlast for whatever reason in the 90s. particularly the mid to late 90s. They've got two main versions of the Cleto Reyes fight glove. They've got the Safe Tech version, which is this version, and then they've got the classic Cleto Reyes versions here. And the only real difference between the Safe Tech and the classic versions is the type of padding they have inside. Now, I've looked at, you can go to the quick view or you can select options. I've looked at the description that it has there on the Cleto Reyes website, and it doesn't say exactly what's inside these classic version of their glove, whether it's all horsehair or it's a combination of horsehair and foam padding. It doesn't say. But I do know that with the Safe Tech gloves, or as far as I'm aware anyway, they're only foam. There is no horsehair in Safe Tech gloves as far as I'm aware. So these Safe Tech gloves are a bit more protective for your hand. If you've had any kind of hand issues and you don't want to wear the horsehair version, you wear the Safe Techs. If you're picking Cleto Reyes anyway, you wear the Safe Techs because they're a bit more protective. And one thing I can say about horsehair as opposed to foam gloves is with a horsehair glove, it's much easier to open your hand completely, to have a completely open palm. So your fingers are literally facing upwards in the glove. When you're wearing a horsehair glove, it's far more flexible than a foam glove generally. Yeah. And so a lot of people will prefer the horsehair, not just because of the fact that you can feel your knuckle through the glove and so hopefully do more damage to your opponent, but also because they like the flexibility of the glove. Some fighters like to parry and block shots, catch shots with their palm. So horsehair gloves make it a bit easier to do that. Although most fight gloves are pretty flexible and you can open your palm pretty good, but with horsehair gloves, you can open them even easier. So Cleto Reyes has been around for a very long time. They're not as popular as fight gloves as they used to be, but there are still some prominent fighters who like wearing them. Manny Pacquiao, for the vast majority of his career, up until this day, likes wearing Cleto Reyes gloves. Adonis Stevenson, who is a huge puncher, he likes wearing Cleto Reyes gloves. Joseph Parker also likes wearing Cleto Reyes gloves, but he has worn Everlast MX as well, which is a horsehair glove. He likes the Everlast MX. I'll get onto that in a second, onto those pair of gloves. But he's another person who wears Cleto Reyes, but sometimes he also wears Everlast MX, Mexican style. Cleto Reyes obviously is a Mexican brand, and most of the other brands do a Mexican style fight glove, because there are a lot of fighters who like the Mexican style fight glove, which is basically patterned on a Cleto Reyes. Yeah, because that's the most popular, famous Mexican brand. Although Grant, I believe, is now a Mexican brand. I don't know if it was started by a Mexican person. Obviously, it's not a Spanish name, Grant. So I'm not exactly sure of the history. But for the longest while, Cleto Reyes was the most popular Mexican brand. And many of the brands, including Grant, when they first came out, their gloves were very similar to Cleto Reyes. I remember the first time I saw Grant gloves was in the late 90s. Lennox Lewis, when he fought Michael Grant, they wore Cleto Reyes. I think even on the undercard of Tyson Holyfield, there might have been some guys wearing Cleto Reyes gloves on their undercard. I'm not sure if Henry Akinwande was wearing them when he fought Zolkin. But anyway, Cleto Reyes gloves, famous fight gloves. And there are still some top fighters who do like wearing them, but they're not as popular as they used to be. Back in the days, Cleto Reyes gloves were like Grant gloves today, where every damn big fight, you see people wearing them. Moving on to the next brand, you got Everlast, right? Everlast have been around for a long time as well. They were very, very popular in the 80s. Mike Tyson used to wear Everlast gloves. Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler. Throughout the 80s, there was a big, big time for Everlast. Through the 90s, Cleto Reyes were taking over a little bit. Their current lineup of fight gloves, the most popular ones are the Safe Techs and the MX. These are the Mexican style horsehair gloves. These, you can really feel your knuckle You know, you can feel your knuckle right through the glove, these horsehair gloves. These gloves are very comfortable. I have tried these gloves on. Very comfortable pair of gloves, I can say that. Just quickly going back to the Cleto Reyes. I've tried on Cleto Reyes. I've never really liked them, you know. I've never really liked the feeling of a Cleto Reyes on my hand. They're okay. They're not terrible. But, nah, they don't. Sometimes you just put on a glove and you know this is the glove for me. And I've never felt that with the Cleto Reyes fight gloves I've tried on anyway. Because Cleto Reyes, when they're training gloves, can be very hit and miss when it comes to comfort because they're handmade. So there can be variations in terms of the fit of each individual glove. You know, and in fact, when fighters are backstage, when they're ready to go out and fight, in the hours leading up to their fight, they will often try on several pairs. Some fighters have custom gloves, so they do this long before they even reach the building. They do this weeks in advance. But there are many occasions where the fighter will pick which gloves they're going to wear on the day, a couple of hours before the fight. And they'll try on different, you know, pairs of gloves from one particular batch. Yeah, so there might be a whole heap of gloves exactly like this in a bag, all the same model of glove, but the fighters try them on because there's not perfect uniformity. There's not perfect consistency between each pair. So, yeah. Anyway, moving back to the Everlast gloves, the most popular are the Power Locks. I've never actually tried on a pair of Power Locks, but they're one of the most popular types. And the MX, yeah, which are also very popular. I'd heard people say that the MX had been banned in the UK, right? And here's another thing as well that I like about Everlast, is that they do an XL version of their 10-ounce fight gloves. See, there's the regular 10-ounce, and then there's a 10-ounce XL. So they make a bigger version of the glove for bigger hands, but it weighs the same. Most of the other brands don't actually do that. They don't do an XL version of their 10-ounce glove. So that's something I really like about Everlast, the fact that they do that. I think they do that with some of their sparring gloves as well. So yeah, I personally like these gloves. They're very comfortable, and I'd heard they were banned in the UK, but on the Hey Bellew rematch undercard, I saw somebody wearing them. I'm not sure if it was Paul Butler or it was his opponent, but somebody was wearing these Everlast MX. You know, let me just mute this, man. People getting at me on flipping WhatsApp web. Yeah, so I like those gloves personally. And as far as fighters who wear them, who wear the MXs, Jesus, where are we at here? We've lost our way. Competition gloves. Alright. As far as fighters who wear them, Alexander Povetkin likes wearing them, but I noticed he didn't wear them against David Price, but he does like wearing them. Canelo likes wearing them, although he didn't wear them against Triple G, and that sparked rumors about his hand injury. Joseph Parker has been known to like wearing these. Miguel Cotto likes wearing these. There are many fighters who favor the Mexican Everlast, the MX. They're a very comfortable glove. Marcus Maidana likes wearing them. In fact, these gloves became infamous because of Marcus Maidana's first fight with Floyd Mayweather, because these were the gloves that Maidana had been wearing for years. These are the gloves he wore against Amir Khan. These are the gloves he wore against so many people. He was so comfortable and so happy wearing these gloves. Against Mayweather, he wasn't allowed to wear them because Mayweather said there's no padding in the glove. They're a horsehair glove. You can't wear them against me. But personally, I've tried them on, and I like these gloves. Never tried on Power Locks, but one person I can tell you who likes Power Locks is someone I interviewed, O'Hara Davis. O'Hara Davis said he doesn't like Grant gloves. See, Grant gloves are very popular in boxing. They're probably the most popular glove. Although I would say rival are maybe equaling Grant over the past couple of years in terms of their popularity, especially since Anthony Joshua started wearing Rival. You see a lot of other fighters now want to wear them. And I think a lot of fighters don't really pick their fight gloves based upon trying loads of different fight gloves and finding out which glove is best for them. A lot of fighters are just like the general public. They go along with whatever's popular. So they see successful fighters out there wearing Grants. So they think, oh, well, I should be wearing Grants because they're obviously the best. And all these top fighters who are world champions and they're in positions that I want to get to, they're all wearing Grants. So I guess I should wear Grants. I think a lot of fighters do that. O'Hara Davis was not one of those guys. O'Hara Davis said he found Grants very uncomfortable. And he happened to wear a pair of Everlast one time. I can't remember which fight he said it was, but one of his fights, his opponent's gloves and his gloves got mixed up. All right, so they were wearing different brands of glove, him and his opponent, and he ended up being given his opponent's gloves, and his opponent ended up being given his gloves, and that's when he wore the Everlast for the first time, and he said he loved them. I don't know whether they were the XL version. Maybe they were. O'Hara Davis says, despite the fact he's only a light welterweight, he says he's got pretty big hands, and he says the Grant gloves just feel too restrictive and small for him. Well, the Everlast do an XL version of their power locks, and as I say, the power locks are what O'Hara Davis likes to wear. And again, you'd hear people say power locks are not really a puncher's glove. Well, O'Hara Davis is a puncher, and he wears power locks. So this is what I'm telling you. Anyone going out there saying, oh, well, this is a puncher's glove and that's not a puncher's glove, it's all BS, really. It's not about what's a puncher's glove or what's not a puncher's glove. It's about what is comfortable for the individual fighter. Yeah, that's what it's about. David Haye, for example, many years ago, said that he could never wear Cleto Reyes gloves. And Cleto Reyes are known as puncher's gloves, right? The horsehair, traditional Cleto Reyes. David Haye said he could never wear them. He'd smash his hands to pieces. So there's a puncher telling you that Cleto Reyes are not suitable for him. And another puncher in O'Hara Davis telling you that out of all the gloves he's worn, including Grant's, his preference is Everlast Power Locks, which are a glove that is very protective. These are not horsehair gloves. These are gloves which are made from high density, which are, contain high density foam. They're nothing like other gloves in the Everlast range, like the MX. Yeah, these are a protective one, but punchers like O'Hara Davis, even Lucas Matisse, you'll notice, he always wears these, Matisse. Matisse don't wear these. Matisse don't wear the horsehair so-called punchers Everlast. He wears the power locks, the more protective Everlast. And Matisse is a massive puncher. So again, that whole idea that punchers are going to wear a particular kind of gloves, it's all a myth. It's just whatever gloves suit your needs as an individual and whichever gloves feel most comfortable to you. Now, they've got these new Everlast fight gloves, which I've never tried on, but I'm keen to try these gloves, because they've got an interesting design. They also do training gloves with this particular style. Everlast is a strange company because they've kind of got a toy division where they churn out a lot of really crappy gloves for the mass market, gloves you can buy in Sports Direct and places like that. I don't know why they have this toy division. I guess it's just whoring out their brand to make some money off the casuals, who are buying into the brand because they've seen the brand in Rocky movies and stuff like that. So they don't know no better. They think they're buying high quality when really they're buying Everlast toy division gloves. But the top end Everlast stuff is still pretty good. And these fight gloves are definitely something I'd like to try on. They're an interesting design. And I think I might like the design. Very flat at the top. Ergonomic. looking wrist, you know. What is the description saying? The Elite Pro Fight Glove has a revolutionary design that incorporates a new anatomically shaped shell which promotes natural range of motion and optimal fist placement. The cutting-edge one-piece design was engineered to act like a natural extension of your hand for a second skin fit, while strategically placed perforations provide cross-ventilation to keep your hands cool. Made in Mexico with premium leather, high-quality blended foam, and quilted horsehair, the Elite Pro Fight Glove is a modern, next-generation take on a traditional Mexican fight glove, available in 8 and 10 ounce sizes. So this is a combination of horsehair and foam. And there's a lot of gloves out there like that, that combine horsehair and foam. They'll generally have, I think it's foam underneath and then horsehair on top. I think it's that way around. Yeah, I believe it is. Foam underneath and then horsehair on top. Because the foam to protect your hand, you know, and then the horsehair on top as a more pliable layer of protection for your hand. Anyway, let's move on. I've covered all those. I've never seen, I'm sure I've seen people wear these other fight gloves, Everlast fight gloves. I've seen a few people wearing these new ones now. I've probably seen people wearing these other ones. Oh no, that's the amateur gloves. I've probably seen people wearing these or these, but they're not particularly popular from what I can remember. You know, I haven't seen too many people wearing them. Did Wilder wear these when he fought Johan Duopa? Wilder wore some brown looking gloves when he fought Duopa. I wonder if it was these. I don't know. Deontay Wilder normally wears Everlast. He's another huge puncher. And Wilder normally wears Everlast gloves. And Wilder doesn't wear the MX gloves. So once again, the gloves which are supposed to be the puncher's glove, you got one of the biggest punchers in boxing, Deontay Wilder. He doesn't wear the supposed Everlast puncher's glove. He wears one of their more protective models of glove. Moving on to another brand here, Winning. Now, Winning are very popular as gloves for training and sparring among many top professionals, but they're not very popular when it comes to professional fights anymore. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather and a lot of top professionals were wearing them for fights, but today there are very few top pros who wear Winning fight gloves. Chris Eubank Jr. is one of the very few. And the main reason that very few people wear the Winning fight gloves is because the padding is too protective of the opponent. This is the main reason, and I guess the main criticism, if you want to call it that, of these gloves as fight gloves. They're too protective of the opponent. They're like pillows, some people describe them as. So great for sparring, great for training, to protect your hands and protect your sparring partners. So you can recycle the sparring partners, you know, not mash them up too badly. But for actual fights, unless you've got a hand injury or something, so you want to be extra protective, then you probably won't opt to wear Winning fight gloves. Canelo, there was rumors that he had a hand injury going into the Golovkin fight, and rather than wear his normal Mexican Everlast, he opted to wear Winning gloves, which was very unusual. So I've tried on Winning sparring gloves, and they're extremely comfortable. Yeah. Well, I've had a pair of Winning sparring gloves. They're extremely comfortable. Did I say uncomfortable? I'm pretty tired at the moment, people. So if I'm messing up my words a little bit, it's because I ain't had enough sleep yet. But yeah, the Winning sparring gloves are extremely comfortable. From what I understand, the fight gloves are not too dissimilar from the sparring gloves. Yeah. And that's one of the great things about Winning sparring gloves, is that they feel almost like fight gloves. They're very flexible, Winning sparring gloves. You can open your hand fully. They're very comfortable. They feel very, very similar to fight gloves. So I'm assuming the Winning fight gloves don't feel much different from their sparring gloves. But those are those anyway. Very few people wear them anymore for the reasons I just mentioned, for professional fights at least. Alright, moving on to the two most popular fight gloves today. One of them is the Grant fight glove. And up until recently, I've never actually tried on a Grant fight glove. I have tried on Grant sparring gloves. And again, from what I understand, the Grant sparring gloves are a sized up version of their fight gloves. Yeah. I didn't find the Grant sparring gloves particularly comfortable, I have to say. They would not be my sparring glove of choice, particularly not for the price, because Grant sparring gloves are extortionately expensive. In fact, any Grant glove is extortionately expensive. At this point, you're paying for the brand as much as you are for the glove, because of the likes of Floyd Mayweather and all these top fighters wearing them. As I say, the first time I saw Grant gloves was in the late 90s. And at the time, they were just, to me, they looked like Cleto Reyes ripoffs. But they clearly gained a good reputation and became popular. And Floyd Mayweather really is the person Grant should be thanking for making them a hell of a lot of money. Because he's really popularized Grant gloves, as far as I'm aware, you know. And as I say, the sparring gloves I've tried on and worn, not particularly comfortable for me. Yeah, I didn't find them that great. They were great quality, you know, the craftsmanship and the build and all that stuff was great. But just in terms of the fit, the thumb placement, I don't know. They weren't for me. But they're very popular with many people. And here's the thing, Floyd Mayweather wears these, and Floyd Mayweather is somebody with brittle hands. Okay, so these are a relatively protective glove. The foam in them is quite dense. It's quite hard. When you put Grants on, certainly the sparring gloves even are quite hard. And from what I understand about the fight gloves, they're also quite a firm, stiff glove with, you know, this very dense foam padding. So you can do a nice amount of damage to your opponent because they're a hard glove, but you can also protect your hands because not much is going to get through them, especially when you got your hands properly wrapped underneath. And these gloves are not considered as much of a so-called puncher's glove as an Everlast MX, but yet you've got people like Sergey Kovalev, Gennady Golovkin, and many other big punchers who wear these. They don't go for the horsehair gloves, they go for the Grant, which is a foam glove. A very high density foam glove. So again, this whole idea that there's certain gloves that are for punchers is a myth. Finally, moving on to this glove right here, which has become extremely popular over the past couple of years. This is the RFX Guerrero fight glove made by Rival. Now there's two versions of these gloves, and I talked about this in the other video I did about boxing gloves a few days ago. The two versions are the soft foam version and the high density foam version. And it says here, on the SFF version we used a soft, simple polyurethane foam, giving this model glove a soft, broken-in feel. On the HDEF model, the leather is laminated with a high-density EVA, giving this glove a stiffer, firmer feel with the accent on power and protection. Now, I've tried on both versions of this glove, and let me just go through again. I've tried on most of these fight gloves that I've talked about, alright? Or at least versions of them, sparring versions of them. And I've tried on many other fight gloves that I haven't shown you here. This glove here, the RFX Guerrero, is by far, and I mean by far, the most comfortable fight glove I've ever put on my hands. These gloves are the most ergonomically designed fight glove I've come across. For me anyway. Again, I've never fought in them. I have punched in them. I have trained in them. But I've never actually fought in them. Alright, because I've never been a professional. But yeah, these gloves feel great on the hand. It's easy to open your hand up. The fist placement is excellent. They feel roomy and big enough inside. If you're, a heavyweight or someone with bigger hands, they feel great inside. And again, it comes down to personal preference because, Anthony Joshua, for example, wears these. He's a very big guy. Some smaller guys might prefer different type of fight gloves. They might prefer Grant's. But Anthony Joshua, Luis Ortiz, many other heavyweights out there, and many fighters from lighter weights are wearing these RFX Guerrero gloves. I love these gloves. Keith Thurman wears these gloves. Maris Breedis wears these gloves. Vasyl Lomachenko wears these gloves. So many people are wearing these gloves, and having tried these gloves for myself, I can understand why they wear them. They are fantastically comfortable. And as far as the difference between the high density version and the soft version, which it just says there they use a simple foam, the soft version almost feel like horsehair gloves. They're not horsehair according to Rival, but they feel like horsehair, because horsehair, if you ever try a horsehair fight glove, is very soft. You can literally feel your knuckle through the glove. And that's how the soft version of these RFX Guerrero feel like. They feel like horsehair gloves. The high density foam version, they're unusual. All right, I like them. I actually prefer the high density version to the soft version, but they're unusual. Maybe you can see here on the close up, right? You can see there at the finger area of the glove. You see that line? You see that line that goes around the fingertip area of the glove? That is the high density foam. The high density foam is a very thin layer which is basically glued to the inside of the leather, if that makes sense, right? So they've got this very thin layer of this hard high density foam, and beneath the high density foam, it's got soft foam. So the outer shell, if you like, of the glove feels quite hard, but when you push down, there's quite a lot of give in the glove. Yeah? So it's got, two densities of foam on the one glove. It does feel unusual. I've never come across fight gloves that feel like that before on the outside, but the design clearly works for a lot of people because so many top professionals like them. And as I say, for me, they're by far the most comfortable fight gloves I've ever tried on. Some people might look at Rival and say, well, people are just following the fashion just like they were with Grant. In my experience from trying on fight gloves, with these it's not hype. With these it's not just following fashion. These are genuinely comfortable gloves. And for those who are just looking to hit a bag or something and maybe just want some expensive bag mitts, if you've got a decent disposable income, you can buy these gloves, these RFX Guerrero fight gloves, in a bag mitt version. As far as I'm aware, and as far as I think Rival have said, these are an exact replica of their fight glove, just with Velcro on, right? So you can't use these for sparring. They've got these hard plastic fastenings here on the front, right? So you're not going to use them for sparring. They're too small for sparring anyway, 8 ounce and 10 ounce. But if you want to use them on the bag or for mitt work or anything like that, that's what they're designed for. They're designed as a bag glove, but they're literally exactly the same as the fight glove. So yeah, very, very comfortable. If you get to go somewhere, I always recommend, if you can, going into a shop to try on boxing gloves if you're looking to buy them rather than just getting them online. So if you ever go anywhere, two of the most popular stores near London, not in London, but near London, where a lot of the professionals who are based in London go, Two of the most popular stores are Box Fit, which is in Essex, and Sugar Ray's, which is also in Essex. One of them is in Brentwood, I think, and the other one's in... Where's the other one? Is one of them in Romford? No, one of them's in Harold Wood, and the other one's in Brentwood, both in Essex. And you can go into a Box Fit or Sugar Ray's and try on all the different gloves. They've, got them on the shelf and whatnot. So, yeah, I'd recommend that if possible. If not possible, then I guess you just have to get the gloves, try them on at home, see if they're comfortable, and if they're not, you send them back. I guess that's what you have to do. But hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing me ramble about gloves, and let me know if you want to hear me do more videos of this type. I do want to start doing glove reviews, actually. I want to do so many things on this channel, so there's only so many hours in the day. We'll see what's actually practical to do. But I have done glove reviews on this channel before. I did 2 glove reviews of I did a review of a pair of ringside gloves and a review of a pair of rival gloves before on this channel. Some of you may remember those reviews. So anyway, yeah, let me know how you feel in the comment section, people. It's happening. I'm out.